cross.
Yes.
So of course he
You
was
could see it's not
we knew. And I reached my hand over the bottom and I'm touching the bottom.
So
You know,
you could have walked over.
we could have, in the daytime, we could have walked across that part of it because it was so low. But we wouldn't have done it.
No.
We didn't know anybody or anything.
No. They're making a buck.
That was the
right?
first big adventure.
Mhm.
And Sunya, because he made the arrangements to get us out, he came with us with the wagons that came, and then he had to go back during the night. If he were caught, he'd be in big trouble.
Mhm.
Those are other troubles that I can tell you about another time. Well, some will find a chance on that,
Oh, yeah.
what he went through
Yeah.
during the
He
revolution.
didn't go with you?
No, he came about 2.5 years later.
So you didn't go with you?
No.
Uh-huh.
Well, he had just been married, he had a little boy, Harold, you know, he was
Yeah.
maybe 6, 7 months old, 8 months.
Uh-huh.
Sylvia wasn't born yet.
Uh-huh.
So-
Was
and
your grandmother, was she
there.
still alive?
Yes,
Okay.
and Sunya and his family were living with them,
Mm-hmm.
and Uncle Hill was in the village.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, there was family there.
Mm-hmm.
That's a whole other story because it already reflects what happened during the Revolution and Civil War and how old habits, I won't go deep into it, but old habits make you respond in a certain way, especially if you don't feel for it.
Mm-hmm.
Sunya, in many ways, he became a Zionist.
Yes.
And I think if he hadn't married, it would have gone to Palestine.
Really?
But as I say, those are other adventures, and I don't want to confuse you now. But
How,
it's part
can
of the
I
family
turn this
experience.
lamp on here, Harry?
Very, what?
Can I turn this on?
Sure, switch over there.
This?
That's it.
Okay,
Oh,
great.
that helps.
Is that okay?
Yeah, sure.
Okay,
If
good.
you want it smaller, if it's too bright,
Yeah?
you can turn it underneath there.
This?
See? Now it'll go off, and then you can put it on 2, 4, 6.
Oh, that's smart. Okay,
Yeah,
that's
it's
great.
an old lamp that I picked up.
Yeah.
But I'm tired of it because if I have a lot of people here, which happens from time to time, and I move the table aside, 12 people hit it. So I have to pull it up on a rope and tie it up there.
Oh.
Anyhow,
Yeah.
so they went back, as he went back, and the others who came with groups, and we were there. I can't understand now, but then I didn't know what was happening, that others didn't go. So we stayed in Soroki until the word was clear that we'd go to Bucharest. And Grandpa sent me, that is, Grandpa Meyer sent us more money so that go there, and then we'd have to have money for the boat passage and so on. But we stayed in Bucharest a couple of months too.
How long?
Before things were shaped up, we had to get passports, and so you were able to, because Romania wasn't friendly to the new Soviet Union.
Okay, so they wanted to bother them as much as
Right.
possible.
And so they didn't mind if you'd be moved on
Mm-hmm.
and going. So that's what we did.
Where did you live when you were in Bucharest?
In Bucharest, we stayed at a hotel.
Uh-huh.
There were quite a few because it was being done by many people who were leaving Russia.
Mm-hmm.
And, but we were free to go about, you know, as I was telling Andy before, it's a modern city, paved streets, trolley cars, we've never seen such things in the town. Oh, you could go at night and see a movie on a stretched screen outdoors. It was springtime, you know, like they showed in the army, you know. The people who are at the bottom of the scale socially sat on the other side of the screen to get everything in reverse. And these were the early movies coming out, still the silent days.
Yeah.
So that started in Soroki. Then in Bucharest, you could go to a movie house and sit, you know, in the gardens, things like that. And it was a very lively, and there were always parades because the Queen was around. She was really the head of government. Her consort was not very powerful. And then Dave came, and we all got together, and we made a railroad trip from Romania through Transylvania, through Hungary to Czechoslovakia, across the Alps out there, and on the other side we got into Belgium and got to Antwerp. And there we stayed in a hotel until our boat with our tickets was prepared. And fortunately, Grandpa sent enough money he was able to, so that we were able to go second class.
You went second class.
First and second class. First class in those days also meant that not only people who had money, but people who had difficulties physically were not examined. They didn't go to Ellis Island when they came here. Their passage sort of got them examined on shipboard by the ship's doctor.
That was both first and second class?
First and second class.
So you didn't go through Ellis Island?
No. We went through the, what was called Castle Garden, which was at the tip of the Bowery here. Was, now it doesn't exist. And we'd already been examined by the ship's doctor. And when we got off the boat, the Grandpa was there waiting for us. And he took us to a subway, which brought us out to a place in Brooklyn, where he had gotten an apartment behind a store. We had
and this is more or less the first time you've seen him?
Yeah,
you didn't know
seen
him?
him.
No.
And just a little side story. I look at him, you know, I see pictures of him.
Yeah.
I said, well, yeah, I guess that's my father.
And you're what, 10?
And he bends down, he kisses me.
Yeah.
He was a heavy smoker.
Yeah.
I'd never experienced that, because nobody in the family smoked. I think I smoked, and Ernie smoked what?
Yeah.
We used to copy the elders there. We didn't have cigarettes, so all the kids would get leaves. And we went through the process. We'd soak them in water until they were flat, and then dry them on the side of a shed, and then devein them and cut up. Oh, it was a real tobacco process. And then we'd take whatever we had, a piece of newspaper, or brown paper, anything, and roll up a cigarette. It's a sickening thing.
Yuck.
It's a wonder we survived. That was the experience with smoking. After a couple of those, I didn't until I was a seaman, and then everybody around you smokes, so you smoke with a social gesture.
Right.
But in any case, we wait here until everything's arranged in Antwerp, and then we got on this boat. And it took us, I think, about 14 days. But it was, a wonderful experience. Ernie and I had a ball.
Yeah, you didn't have rough weather.
Not really rough, nothing like that.
No.
I was a little seasick the first night.
Yeah.
But after that, and in those days when you traveled, and for years after, you could eat up and down the menu as much as you wanted.
Especially second class.
Really?
Right.
What was the difference between first and second class?
The accommodations.
Okay.
We had our cabin, you know, 4 of us, 4 beds, and we had more or less common bathrooms for bathing, shower, washing, use, all that. In first class, you had staterooms. Each had its own accommodations. But as far as food and socializing, you could do it between the 2 classes. We met people there. And then right below us was the steerage. When we went to the rail, the after rail, and looked down, the only time they get some fresh air was to come out on deck when the weather was fine, because they were crowded inside. We went down once or twice, and on that trip, Wuchel and her sisters and her brother, that's 3 sisters, there were 4 of them, yes, and her brother Bill, and their mother. Their father was here. They went steerage.
They went steerage?
Yeah.
On the same boat?
You couldn't send them enough money.
On the same boat?
The same boat had all 3.
But the same boat you were on?
Yeah.
They were
it was
on
very
in
common.
steerage?
Well, that's what Dave arranged.
Okay.
We were traveling together.
Right.
They had to go to Ellis Island.
They went through Ellis Island.
And there was some question about, I'm not sure if it was Bessie or someone else that was They had these ways, you probably heard about it, examining people, and then the final examination was go up that big stairway. Now it's modernized, so it looks much better. When I was there a few years after, you know, many years ago, nothing had been done to revive it, so there's an old rickety stairway going up. But the specialists, the doctors would sit at the bottom, they'd watch how they moved up.
Yes.
How many held onto the rail, how many struggled up, and they would point with their fingers to the people up there watching. This one goes to the left, which means this kind of examination. These go to the right, which means they have to be more thoroughly examined, and some of them will be sent back.
What have you sent back?
Yes. Fortunately, in our group and of the other families that we knew, they didn't get sent back. But we saw people.
Would they split up a family, for example?
They would. But in some cases, when there was proof that there was someone here that could take care of them, even if necessary, if it was not something contagious, they could go to a hospital, then they were allowed to go with
What if you had
the
a
person
family,
needing them.
a family coming in with two or one older person who was very disabled? They could send the one
They
back.
could send them back. They could send them back. And when they were little children, they didn't have to go with them, unless there was somebody here related to them that could. In many cases, that was still, because many could not come unless there was somebody here. And then we got together and we slept on the floor.
I guess.
See who it is. Until you got your own way around to your own apartment.
Yeah.
Hello.
This is what did that with me too.
They may think they have a wrong number.
Just a second, please.
Hello? Yes.
Just push the red button here.
Or et cetera, and others will be cheaper than that. You have to become a bookkeeper to run your telephone calls. I already signed up with the original, which I'm used to for many, many years, AT&T, the parent company, before they split.
Yes.
So I find that it's simple and I know what I'm entitled to regarding. But they work day and night with a thing like that, among others. And they get a lot of people sucker it in.
Oh yeah.
You think they're saving, and then they give you, oh, you can make so many calls. That's the first month, and then you be anyhow. We got more important business.
That's right.
So where were we?
We're at Ellis Island.
Yes,
But did your father go through Ellis Island?
I never knew that he did, but I believe he did,
Okay.
because in his time,
Yeah.
everybody went through
Right.
it. See, Castle Garden was just beginning,
Right.
and he had nobody that he was coming to.
How did he get in? How did he get into the country? Having nobody to come to.
Well, he had, first of all, he had the means to do it.
He had money.
He had money.
He had money, so he was self-supporting.
Okay.
And, you know, he was a person trained in the kind of work he was doing. Depends where in the city you are, and, you know, to what extent are landlords that are responsible to do what they should be doing for maintenance. You can hit places that are sickening. Parts of the Bronx, parts of Harlem, some parts of Queens and Brooklyn. Wherever there's a concentration of black and Hispanic, or one or the other, or both, they pay less attention. Landlords are playing games of that is, they don't respond to maintenance. Many landlords over the years, I would say from the 50s on, bought up properties that were city-owned for lack of paying the taxes. All over, not included in that. Right around here, down other places where we lived, before they started the whole high-rise and special. Once they got into those programs, you had help from state and federal governments. But these were private ownerships. and they'd buy buildings for a song till about the mid to late '60s. There were people, what I was talking about the other day, there were people who took advantage, buy brownstones for $6,000, $8,000, $10,000. Then they'd invest their own effort in $2,000 and have a house for the rest of their lives, you know, with tenants many times. Or they'd get a few people together and share, make it a small co-op, but they owned the buildings. And they picked up pretty much everything in sight that wasn't sold to big builders, you know. So, but before that, they were living in hovels and the landlord just didn't do a thing. Whole families would live in a room with a bathroom in the hallway commonly shared by the others. They were really rooming houses. And they were also dangerous. They had either gas or kerosene stoves. They didn't maintain these toilets. Half the time didn't work. And they got their rent. And that was it. And the others didn't know any better. They were immigrants. They didn't know how to. All that was with them, you know, they didn't understand. Big builders, you know. So, but before that, they were living. You know, he was a person trained in the kind of work he was doing. Depends where in the city you are and, you know, to what extent our landlord. Doing for Rymers. You can hit places that are sickening. Parts of the Bronx, parts of Harlem, some parts of Queens and Brooklyn. Wherever there's a concentration of black and Hispanic, or one or the other, or both, they pay less attention. Landlords play games of that is, they don't respond to maintenance. Many landlords over the years, I would say, bought up properties that were city-owned for lack of paying the taxes. All over, not included in that. Right around here, down other places where we lived before they started the whole high-rise and special. Once they got into those programs, you had help from state and federal governments. But these were private ownerships. And they'd buy buildings for a song till about the mid to late '60s. There were people, what I was talking about the other day, there were people who took advantage. Buy brownstones for $6,000, $8,000, $10,000. Then they'd invest their own effort in $2,000 and have a house for the rest of their lives, you know, with tenants many times. Or they'd get a few people together and share, make it a small co-op, but they owned the buildings. And they picked up pretty much everything in sight that wasn't sold to big builders, you know. So, but before that, they were living in hovels and the landlord just didn't do a thing. Whole families would live in a room with a bathroom in the hallway commonly shared by the others. They were really rooming houses. And they were also dangerous. They had either gas or kerosene stoves. They didn't maintain these toilets. Half the time didn't work. And they got their rent. And that was it. And the others didn't know any better. They were immigrants, they didn't know how to use the law that was with them, you know, they didn't understand. So there's a high rise and around it like we had on some streets here. We were living in a nice place, and next to the whole row of brownstones were jammed with people who haven't even got a decent place to lie down. So there were many fires, more than now. I know you hear them, but compared to what it used to be, you don't hear the engines very often. And there weren't such big firehouses. And many have been converted over the years to private dwellings. Were very interesting. For people who, some were turned into theaters. New houses, firehouses, they're spread all over and they take good care of them very quickly response. It's a big change. I don't think it's the same country if you've been around then. It wasn't like in the new suburban areas that sprang up after the war. Levittown, some places like that. It started off very modestly. But as people wanted to leave the cities, they went out and they bought them up for, again, like they did here, for a few $1,000s and expanded them and turned them into beautiful homes. Those who came later didn't have anything, which again was paid for by government agencies in the beginning. They got them set up and so on. They supported the builders. They were doing it, I didn't blame them, they were doing a responsible job. But as the communities increased in size, you could no longer buy them for that kind of year or in the suburbs. You know where Joe and Sylvia are and others, they were sprang up all over the place. They built up towns, communities, and those that stayed on would work in New York, use the railroad, or drive in. A good many use the railroad. It really is. It's probably one of the few working railroads that makes money.
Long Island.
Long Island. Because hundreds of thousands of people come in every day. They can even come into Brooklyn and into Queens with those lines. They don't have to go all the way into Manhattan. And into Manhattan, city and state paid for the tunnel, the bridges. So, in a sense, you get a free ride. You get stuck in traffic and things like that, so many went for the railroads who dropped using any of their freight. They're standing idle. There's hundreds of millions of dollars, not billions, in railroad stock that's standing. You can see a lot of it when you take a trip by passenger train. They talk every few years, oh, let's get back and move more freight by the railroads. They're standing and just not earning any money. But the truck business and the car business is too big for them.
You would think pollution-wise it would be a better...
Of course. Well, a train can load, you know, just one train of 10 cars can load would take you 50 trucks or more. And would get it there faster, would not affect traffic, would not break up highways. For years now, they've been working on the Long Island Expressway. And 95% of the damage to the roads was done by trucking. They have to feed all the trucks, all the stores, etc. So it's commercial traffic. It's not people moving to work and back. It's that way in many states. New Jersey was notorious for that. I don't know when you were young if you ever heard of Mayor Haig. He was the mayor of Jersey City for most of his life. He built roads into places where you didn't need them. Just standing waiting for trucks to be added. You know, before the turnpike was put in, before the Garden State Park operated, kept appropriating money, they had power in the state organization, and you always had federal help when you built,
Mm-hmm.
especially if they're interstate roads.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yes.
Going nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a whole, you were talking about that woman who wrote books on the city, you said,
Ah, yes, yeah.
and there were others who studied and wrote about that. Nobody paid attention.
Well,
That
you
is,
don't-
the authorities didn't pay attention.
yeah, you don't have a central government that wants to steer these things. It's
Mhm.
more a private initiative. So it goes the way it wants to go. The money goes.
There's a lot of power in the state and city organizations. You take a state like New Jersey, there may be one or two cities in the whole state that have as many people as Manhattan has. You know, in major cities. The rest are all towns, little communities like that. And they love that. There are more ways of finagling and making money in small organizations, and there's really no challenge. None to speak of. Now, there's a little bit done, but for the most part, nobody stands over their shoulder. What was a couple of years ago, we're redoing the Long Island Expressway. Now's the time to bring back freight on the trains that are standing in the yards, here, in the, everywhere you go, it's right. Queens and Brooklyn out on the island. You see dead railroads next to those that carry passengers. They never did it. They've redone the billions of dollars into redoing the expressway. And it's still the trucks that carry this traffic and supplies.
Do people go by train for transportation? Like if you want to go to Chicago or Washington or
Yes,
Los
yes,
Angeles?
that's the national Amtrak system.
And it's
Yeah.
used?
But not enough.
Not enough.
There's too much stuff standing idle, just in interstate commerce. This is within the state.
People fly or what?
Unless they have a lot of time to drive.
Yeah, right.
That's different. That's your vacation traffic. It's in traffic. But the railroads are very much underused. What's happened in the last few years with major accidents, you know, catastrophic accidents within the country, not only
Airplanes?
interact airplanes.
Yes. Because what? Because there's too much traffic or it's worn down? Or?
It's as much poor maintenance and no maintenance. They must have a measure of how much to invest in maintenance is against what you have to invest in insurance to pay off claims. And I'm sure they discovered that it's profitable that way rather than.
To get people killed or what?
No, I mean, that's my feeling about it from what happens.
Yeah.
One airplane, two airplanes, big planes, small planes.
Well, Tim,
Well,
now we know.
now we know. What do we know? Been looking at the map. Sorry, guys.
Okay.
Because the A train goes directly from 96th Street subway station to the airport.
The A train,
The A train.
do they say it's still running?
Does it have to run?
There's got to be a branch of the A train.
Yeah,
it's two of them.
I think it runs
Harry
from
Rymers,
about
it's
55th
You really?
or
Hi,
53rd
Jerry.
Street,
Well, you've been awake
as
a long
opposed
time.
to the A trains that
How about
run
you?
from George
You
Washington
awake?
Bridge and go
Okay.
into the other boat.
Okay.
Years ago, I used it. I didn't know if they still have
Quarter
it.
past 10, if that's better for you?
They do, apparently. Well, how do you know which?
Such is life. Are you gonna come up here? We're gonna meet you downstairs.
You want to get to
That's just fine.
the
See you
airport.
there.
Once you're
Right.
there are internal local buses that take you to all of the
Yeah,
terminals.
right.
See, the A train goes to, if you take the Rockaway, whatever it's called? Is that what it's called?
Rockaway Park, yeah?
Yeah.
There's two of them, either of these two.
Yeah. The round or the diamond?
Is there a date on that map, by the way?
Pardon?
They stopped
Is
both
there a
at,
date on that map anywhere in a corner?
Yeah, it says 1952. No, 1996.
That's good. No, that's important.
Yeah.
yeah.
Because I
But,
can't remember when it was
Right.
picked up. And I
When
bet
you say
there
times-
must be a phone number also to call.
Yeah, but Harry, when you say times, you mean they might stop running in the evenings or what?
No, there, see,
Full-time term.
it's an A train that runs at certain times. And the way they had it, maybe they tell you there.
It says all times.
You got into the subway and you paid for the trip to the airport on the train.
Uh-huh.
And I wonder if they've changed that. Otherwise you put in a
For the
total-
shuttle bus?
Huh?
Or what, for the shuttle bus you mean?
No, for the train that goes to,
You have to pay extra for that?
yeah, it's not, there are other ways of going.
Yeah.
That's what I say, depends what description you get, which trains and where you change for them and so on.
Well, this train
This train
seems
goes
to go out directly.
all the way from 96th Street.
From 96th here, that's on Central Park West.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, no, there you'll get a local, you'd have to go to 59th Street and change for the A train.
Why? It
It
says.
says it goes all the way through.
From 96th?
96 West.
I mean, it sounds great, because that's something new. See, above 59th
Starts here at
Street, they're all local stops.
207th Street, goes all the way, stops here at 96.
So it's the regular A train. I was
Regular A
talking
train.
to Andy about the one that was running from 53rd Street. You know, you go into the subway, you
Mhm.
pay the fare, and then on the train, that particular A train would run out there.
Is that an express? It's an express.
But this
train.
sounds like something new and, you know, and faster.
53rd Street.
Otherwise, you don't have to make those changes,
Right,
because,
or else we're just, there's something we're not looking at.
but it still seems to me that
Wait a minute.
I've never seen an express train stop at 96th here.
But it's not an express, it's
Yeah.
not an
Yeah,
express
but
train.
I'm talking about the A train. I've never seen it stop there.
Really?
There's a B train that stops, there's another one that stops. That's something new.
Tim, watch out. You got to be careful because I think you're reading this right.
Okay.
Here is
Best
the
thing.
8th Avenue Express.
Which?
The 8th Avenue Express.
Uh-huh, right.
And now,
The 8th Avenue, the A runs on 8th Avenue. But here it's on Central Parkway. But it doesn't stop at 96 normally. So this is something new in it. That's why it's like the day
Well,
It
how do you
says
know-
the
how do you-
bold letters, it stops always, and the light
No, I'm
letters
saying
stop
that's fine,
sometimes.
because
Yeah.
it didn't exist before. You had to take a train to the 53rd Street station.
Wait a second, you're
No.
right, you're right.
no,
It doesn't stop at
it
96.
doesn't, no, because Tim, if you
I
look,
can see that. I
if
can
you
see it on the
look,
back.
it's got moons.
Yeah,
That
well,
means
it's
it always
just,
stops in the middle.
I can see it here, because the late A is not there.
No, right.
It's just being
So that's what they have to
That's
establish.
silly.
But even that is a big thing. I thought they cut it out altogether.
No, but you're saying it
Where
stops,
does it stop?
stops at 23rd? No, wait,
No,
it
no.
stops at 72nd? No, no.
Well, the A train stops at 72nd because that's an
Fif-
express stop.
59, it stops at
59 and,
And it stops at 14th.
and
So we just
yes.
take a train
34
somewhere there.
Penn Station.
Right. Now look on there anywhere where there's printing and see if there's a phone number. Probably on the corner under your.
Yeah,
Yeah.
subway travel, 718-833-0234.
Yeah.
Non-English speaking.
I think. it-
So I'll call
I think
up
the
and
main
say,
office
ask if they
is-
speak
yeah,
Danish?
I think that office, I believe, is in Brooklyn because that's not a Manhattan number.
Mm-hmm.
See, the 718 tells you that it's outside of Manhattan. Now, it
Okay.
could be Brooklyn, could be Queens, could be Staten Island,
Mhm.
or the Bronx.
Okay.
They broke that up years ago, you know,
Okay.
because they couldn't carry enough phones on the
Right.
212 channel. Well, we don't use anything, just our number within Manhattan.
Mhm.
The minute we call the other boroughs, we have to use their call, which is 718.
Okay.
But we have to, so when we change for the A,
Yeah?
like if we do that on 59,
Uh-huh.
we will pay extra on the A train.
They tell you that?
I don't know.
Well, that's what we want to know.
Why should we pay extra?
That's what Harry said.
Because that's what it used to be.
And, you know, things are usually.
Now, they may have changed that. I just want, but I want to know so we don't get stuck. In other words, we take the local here at 96th Street and Central Park West.
Right.
Get off at 59th Street, which is Columbus Circle.
Yeah.
And there you change for, there are several express trains.
Okay.
There's the A train goes one way, the D train goes another way.
Right.
So
But we want the
take the
extra.
A train,
Right.
which is, they say, ran many years ago.
Mhm.
But it was a separate train, a separate run.
Mhm.
You had to get to, it was 53rd Street and 6th Ave. I remember that. I guess it was also because that stop was pretty much within the theater district, and big business, you know, it's right near Radio City, all of this stuff. You know.
Mhm.
So it seemed, I guess they felt that's a logical place to have it.
Right.
59th Street isn't that far now.
No.
So it seems they've changed and they don't have to run so many trains, but you went on there, for we were paying